Katie, let it out with Katie. Let it out with Katie Dale, enthusiast and curator of people and ideas you need to hear.
Hey you guys, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Katie Dilbow. I am your host. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for spending time with me every week, or maybe you're new and welcome. This is my podcast where I interview interesting people and have long, deep conversations with them and then share them with you to open up the conversation to even more people. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. And this week's episode is cool, but it's also really different because the guest is Anjie Cho, who has been a guest before on the podcast, but this week she's not really a guest. She's actually the host because this is a swap cast that we did for her podcast, the Holistic Spaces podcast that she hosts, and my podcast. And Anjie, you can go back and listen to my episode with her from several years ago. I met her through our mutual friend, Sacha Jones, who has also been a podcast guest and a podcast host of this podcast. She hosted the recent birthday episode of mine where she interviewed me, and she's one of my really good friends who lives here in the East Village in New York City. And I love her for many reasons, and one of them is that she introduced me to Anjie. Anjie is a licensed architect. She's a Feng Shui consultant, an interior designer, and she's the founder of the Holistic Spaces blog and podcast and an online store where she sells really cool things that I have many of, like her crystals and mirrors and things for your space, which we talk about in this episode. I love Anjie. She's become one of my best friends here in the city, actually, so far since I've been here. We've been going to a weekly meditation at the Rubin Museum together, and I love her. She had me over to her house to record this episode with my boyfriend Nick when I was first moving into my apartment. And here, let me back up a minute. This is what happened. So Anjie is great at feng shuiing spaces. She's also a great architect, interior designer. But ever since she came on my podcast back in, I think, 2014, like I said, we kept in touch. And something that she did for me, which was so kind of her, was she would Skype with me in my apartments. I had moved to 2 apartments in that time. And she told me where to put my furniture, how to organize my space, my office, my bedroom, to make it the best for me. And she is just such a knowledgeable light of a human being. And it really did make a difference, these shifts that she told me to make that were really pretty simple. And she has a book of these, 108 of them actually. And I always give that book out as a housewarming present to people whenever I'm going over to a housewarming party, or I don't do that often. I think that's happened like once. But whenever I know someone who's moved to a new space and I'm coming to see their new space, I get on Amazon, I order a copy of Anjie's book, and I give it to them. And it's always a hit. So I recommend that. I recommend you check her out. And anyway, so for the last 2 apartments, she didn't come over. She came over because I was in Michigan, but she came over on my computer and I walked her around and she told me what to do about my space. But here in New York City, since she lives here as well, I was moving into this new space, having a new roommate, feeling pretty overwhelmed. And I text Anjie and I explain the situation. I'm like, hey, I'm moving. Can you help me? She's like, yeah, I'll help you. Also, could we record it for my podcast as a Feng Shui consultation, which is what she does live on her podcast. So I was like, of course, that sounds amazing. I'm that weird person that likes to record most of my conversations. So sure, why not? And I am so grateful that I did. She really helped me figure out how to make this space what it is. And it's not perfect yet by any means, but as soon as I get it in a spot where I really like it, I'm going to take photos or have Nick take photos of the apartment, of my room, and I'll share them on Instagram and elsewhere so you can see if you want. Anyway, so that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear Anjie doing a Feng Shui consultation with me. And Nick is also there. We went over to her house. Her dogs are sitting in our laps. And we're just cooling off from the heat, drinking water, and she's asking me questions about my life, my move to New York, and we talk a lot about space and why it's so important. And it was pretty interesting for me to listen to, and I hope it is for you. Again, if you're new, this is not a normal episode. It is not usually so much about me, your host. It's way more about the other person, but this is a different thing. I've had on an astrologer before where they've read my chart, and a psychic who did a psychic reading on me, and now I'm getting a Feng Shui consultation. So anyway, these are just fun things I thought that I would share. If it's not for you, go back and listen to the episode when Angie is not in the hot seat, and you might like that better. This is a lot of me, so that's your warning. Anyway, all right, let's get into the episode. I think you will really enjoy it. And like I said, go check out Angie's work, her podcast. She's really fantastic. Thank you so much to the sponsors of this episode for making it possible. Nudu is a skincare brand that I love. They use really great natural ingredients, which you can feel on your skin. They have personalized skincare for whatever kind of skin type you have. I love it. My assistant Amanda loves it. And if you want to get 20% off your order, you can, because you're a listener of this podcast. So thank you so much, Nudu. That's nudu.com. I love the natural beauty system. I love the eye cream. And you can get a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee. So you literally have nothing to lose. And make sure you use the code LETITOUT. Let It Out, that's the name of this podcast, for 20% off your order, just for you, the listeners of this podcast. Thank you, Nudu. Okay, the other podcast sponsor is FreshBooks. Maybe you've heard of FreshBooks, maybe you haven't. FreshBooks is great. They are an online cloud accounting platform which helps you to organize your finances. You're probably juggling a million things. I know that I am, and keeping on top of my finances creates more room for abundance. However, I always forget to do it, but FreshBooks really, really helps me. It's great for tax season. It's great in general for tracking your business expenses, your finances, making payments super simple and easy for anyone who's a small business or a freelancer. And it's really great and can make you look really legit. You can even personalize the colors, add in your logo. It's great for invoices. And I really just think that you should try it. I love it, and I think you should try it. The presentation and how you present yourself to your clients via invoices is really important, and I love it. So you can do credit card payments and invoices with a click of a button. Payments go directly into my account. They arrive in a couple days. It's great for tracking. The support is fantastic. If you call them, you're going to talk to a real person. There's never a wait, and it's great. I love it so much. Easy reports, P&Ls, just stuff that, I don't really understand that well, and I don't love, but FreshBooks makes me actually kind of enjoy it because it makes me feel like a boss and makes me feel very legit. So you might as well just try it, because here's the thing, you guys. You can get a 30-day unrestricted free trial. That's a complimentary trial. That means you don't have to pay for it at all. When you go to freshbooks.com/letitout and enter Let It Out in the How Did You Hear About Us section. So that's freshbooks.com/letitout and enter Let It Out in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Again, I love you guys. Again, thank you, FreshBooks. Thank you, Nudu. Check them out. And the code for that, for both of them, is Let It Out. That's the name of this podcast, yes. It's also the name of my book. So if you're new to this podcast, I wrote a book. It came out in 2016. It's 55 journaling exercises, journaling prompts to guide you into these areas of your mind that you might not normally explore. It's on Amazon. It's at Barnes & Noble. It's been out for a while now, but anyway, I just thought I'd mention it in case you're a new listener and maybe didn't know that I wrote a book, and it's something I'm pretty proud of. So check out the book, check out the sponsors, and enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you guys at the end. I'll let you know who's coming up next week, and I have actually a pretty cool big announcement. So I'll let you know that, and then I always give an emoji, a secret emoji at the end of the episode, and that is for you to tweet at me, at the guest as well, comment on our Instagram just to let us know that you're still listening to the ramblings at the end of the podcast. Okay, enjoy my consultation with Angie. I'll talk to you guys later.
So in this episode, my friend Katie Dalebout, she just moved to New York, actually, and she's the founder of the Let It Out podcast, which used to be Wellness Wonderland, and she also wrote a book called Let It Out that's published by Hay House, and she's really a wonderfully enthusiastic, bubbly, effervescent person, and she has a wonderful podcast. You should definitely check it out. And so anyways, she moved here to New York, and we thought it would be super fun to do a podcast and a collaborative one, because she's also going to be posting this on her podcast, and I'll be posting it on mine, and we'll do it at the same time. So it's a Let It Out Holistic Spaces collaboration. So since Katie just moved to New York, we took some time to look at the feng shui of her new apartment. So I think it'll be super insightful. You'll learn more about Katie. And I think we're going to have a follow-up too later on. We haven't done it yet. And it was also great to meet her boyfriend. He was there as well. So I hope this is enlightening and educational, and you really get something from this. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Angie.
Thank you so much. Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here, and specifically here with you. Like, when you said that you would do this with me earlier this week, I was like feeling kind of stressed about moving and feeling like I don't know if I made the right choice in the apartment, all the things. And as soon as you were like, oh yeah, I'll help you, it's going to be fine, I felt so cozy and so taken care of, and like so not feeling alone being here in the big city. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think it's going to be really fun for our listeners to, one, hear about your life more personally from a feng shui perspective, and to listen to a consultation as we go through it as best we can, you know.
I'm really excited about that too. And I think like my listeners have heard you on my podcast maybe, or like if they're new to the podcast, haven't heard that episode because we recorded it a while ago, and I'm so into feng shui and spaces are so important to me, and like when we met I just connected with you so much that I'm really excited for them to hear what a feng shui consultation actually is, and through the lens of my life, reality TV style. I think this is like very exciting.
It's totally reality TV style.
Yeah.
And I think also it'll be really fun for you because we did work on your last apartment, but it was
Two apartments we've worked on.
Did we?
Yeah, my first space and then the second one.
Yes, and then but this one is like going to be like a full-on thing where even off the interview we're going to kind of look at what kind of furniture you can buy in the space, and then we'll do some kind of follow-up maybe afterwards.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, so let's give everyone an overview. So one, I'll talk about what steps we'll do during the consultation, and then I'll ask you a bunch of questions. So for everyone, including you, the overview is we'll just talk about what issues are going on in your life, what's surrounding this move, what's surrounding this new space, and what your wishes are. And then I'll ask you more questions about what you want to work on and what your wishes are to kind of pinpoint and to focus on what areas of feng shui we can look at to support those and to help those areas in your life grow. And then we'll look at the room and we'll post the floor plan online so people can see.
Cool.
And we'll talk about like why we're positioning some things where and how that helps you in your life specifically.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. I'm excited. This is like my favorite thing to do.
So, and it's fun because it's kind of like a Katie interview for once. Like, you've had someone interview you before, right?
Sasha interviewed me
once.
once.
That's right.
But everyone really liked that episode because I'm usually the one interviewing, it's kind of nice to see more about me. So this, I think, will be interesting and good. It's kind of like a follow-up to that because that was, I'm about to move to New York and then now I'm here. So this
perfect.
is cool.
Okay, so why don't we first start with what inspired the move and what your aspirations are for being here?
Okay, so ever since I was a kid, my uncle lived in Manhattan, and I came here to visit for the first time in third grade, and I was just always kind of enamored with New York. I thought it was the greatest city, and I was really excited by it, and I just was kind of fascinated with it. And always as a child was like, I hope one day I live in New York. It was just kind of a wish I had. This is weird, but I've never said this out loud, but I would wish every year for my birthday to live in New York when I grew up.
Oh, wow.
And I can say it out loud now because it came true. But I would wish that, and then all my passwords, this maybe I shouldn't be saying because some of them, well, whatever. It's okay. Most of them aren't. But my passwords would be New York for a lot of things. And with, other characters, so don't worry. It's secure. Okay. But that was like one thing that I just would always do. And Nick, my boyfriend, came to my childhood bedroom, and I had like all of these like a Broadway sign and like a Big Apple, just like stuff over the years that my uncle had given me. So I was just always kind of enamored by it. But I forgot about it as I grew up because I didn't really have an opportunity to come here. I didn't move. I went to college in the exact same. I grew up in a college town. And I went to college in a college town that I grew up in Michigan. And I'd never lived outside of the Midwest, outside of Michigan. And I moved away about an hour and a half away from where I grew up, which I liked, and I loved where I was, and I loved Detroit where I was living, and it was great, but I still felt like I wanted to leave Michigan and live further away from where I grew up. That was just important to me and something I'd wanted to do for a really long time. And I'd kind of ruled out New York as even an option because it didn't seem like a financially smart choice. But then I had a career opportunity to come here or an opportunity where I could keep my same career and come here. And I just took it. I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be interesting. I keep saying, I'll learn something. It's a good life episode. It will help me in many ways. The thing I love most about New York is being able to walk everywhere. I love that. I love all the choices and how much I can see, and it feels so different from where I grew up here, and in this way that I really enjoy. And I think every day here has felt, I've only been here less than a month, and every day here has felt honestly really magical. Like there's just a weird magical thing that happens. Like I was in a coffee shop, and then this Wall Street Journal photographer interviewed me that wasn't going to happen where I grew up, and they're just like a funny thing I'll see on the street, or every day here has just been really interesting, and it hasn't all been super easy, but it all really has felt magical, and I just like it. It's also summer, so I'm a little bit nervous about when it gets cold, but it's cold in Detroit too. That's true, but in Detroit, I get into my warm car from my warm apartment, and then I go into the warm place I'm going, where here there isn't that. Oh. There's more walking and...
Yeah, no mini skirts.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah. Lots of layers.
Well, I think New York is going to be a great place for you because you're such a go-getter, and that's New York, and there's so much there's a lot of energy here, and there's a lot of people doing amazing things, and people are setting trends here, and that's what you do. So... Thank you. You're going from a small pond to a big pond with a lot of amazing people around you.
Thank you. And I already feel that, just what I was saying to you earlier before we started recording, I'm able to do this. I'm able to record things in person. Mm-hmm. I did everything I've been doing my podcast for 5 years, and I did it all from my little apartment over Skype. And since I've been here, I haven't recorded anything over Skype. I've done everything in person. I've just been going to more things. I've been saying yes to more things, and it just feels good. It feels like where I'm supposed to be right now.
You're expanding your opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one of your wishes then, really to get something different out of being in New York, to expand your opportunities to what else? So tell me what other wishes you have for yourself?
That's a really good question. I haven't really thought about that too much, but I think what's coming to mind is I know it's stretching myself. I think I was very comfortable where I was, and this is, I don't want to say it's uncomfortable, because I don't think growth has to be uncomfortable. I think sometimes it can be, but it's stretching me. It's making me, I'm not great with directions, and I'm having to learn how to navigate New York City and navigate the subway, and, it was very cleansing moving here. I have hardly any things. I got rid of most of everything I own. As of right now, I have no furniture. I am really figuring out what I need and how to be in a space that this city is about being out, not as much being in my space. And I spent a lot of time inward. And I think my years here in New York will be outward years where I'm out and doing things and going to things. That's what I want for them. That's kind of my big wish, is to like learn about myself, be inspired by the city and the people here, and create content, whatever that is, create art, like be creative with whatever it is that can inspire me by being here.
I can't imagine you being more inspired and more creative than you already are. I know.
Well, this might be a good thing for you to know. And Nick, my boyfriend, is here laughing. Maybe you hear it. But I say this all the time, and you know what I'm going to say. But for the past several podcast episodes, I've been saying and asking the people I have on about this, if they've ever felt this way, because I can feel like a master of none, because I do a lot. But I feel like I don't do any of it all that well. Like I wrote a book, I do a podcast, I do a bunch of things, but I feel like sometimes I'm stretched so thin that I'm not putting 100% of my effort into one thing. I'm putting like 40% of my effort into a lot of things. So that's something maybe, and I think I've talked to you about that even with the Feng Shui consultations we've done in the past, like it maybe has come up, but like that's just something that it's constantly in the back of my mind if I should hone in one area. But I think that's just not really my personality. Like, I don't think I'm meant to do that. I think I am kind of a dabbler, and I'm just becoming okay with that. But I think that is something that, like, being here in New York, I want to focus on the podcast, and I want to build that. I want to focus on what is working in my life, and that right now is the podcast.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that by being here in New York, you really want to grow, and you want to be out more. So that connects with the fame and recognition area, the Feng Shui map. So, and it relates to fire, which relates to passion and inspiration and creativity. And I think that's something you really want to work on. So you want to really cultivate that area, which is related to fire.
Cool.
And fire energy, and it relates to summer too. But being out in the world and being, instead of staying inside, it's just being really out. And that's also what New York's about. Like, we have such small apartments. We got to be out in the world more. And also, New York really sets the stage and the trends and the tone for everything else. And you can really make a big influence here. So I think that's great. So we'll work on maybe that area, the fame and recognition area, because you're already pretty well known and recognized, but you can always grow that. And I remember your zodiac is your horse?
Taurus. Oh, yeah, horse.
Chinese zodiac. And then and that's also related to fire, actually.
Oh.
The horse is related to the fire.
That's interesting, because I'm always cold.
Well, maybe you're burning yourself out, maybe.
Maybe.
But your and your numerology is water. Remember, it was a 1.
Yeah.
So then, I have to do the math to figure out what year you're in. So, because I'm a 6 and I'm in 1, so 7, 8, 9, 1. So 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so you're 5. So you're in a year of transition, actually. I think I don't know if you remember when we talked a few years ago. I told you that.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So this is a year of transition for you. You're in a place where you have to really reinvent yourself and kind of look at what's happening, what's been going on in your life, and what you need to let go of, and what you need to focus on and cultivate. And it's kind of like you said, you're stretching yourself this year, and I like how you said it doesn't have to be painful, but it is a kind of pain.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a negative thing. There can be a lot of growth from it, and you can look at it as a way to really expand yourself and learn from it, and like you said, grow from it rather than it detracting from anything. You're not losing anything; you're gaining.
Yeah. Oh, that feels so comforting and good to hear, because. Yeah, I mean, there's so much of this that is what I want. That truly is what I want. I think I'm actually healthiest and happiest when I'm out and engaging and interacting in the world and in community and around people and meeting people. But I have to really push myself actually to do that because I tend to be naturally a homebody. Like I want to stay in. I want to just like be with like myself or one other person. I'm an only child. I'm very good at being on my own. It's almost hard for me to like really let people in until I do, and then they're like in. And so it's something that even when you were saying that, like, oh, New York, it's all about being out in the world and we have small apartments, part of me was like clenching up of like, oh, but I like to stay in and be cozy. And so I think it'll be like a balance of charging myself up with some introvert time. And that's why my space is really important. So I can do that there. It's like a little oasis within the madness, and then be charged up and like energized to be out in the world and do the things I want to do.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Well, that's what I do too when I work with people. And I think especially being mostly in New York, because we have such small spaces and we're out all the time, that's why it's ever so more important that your home really is supportive and relaxing. And that's why people in New York really want relaxing homes, because it's so crazy outside. And then you want to come home to a place that can be nourishing and supportive and really allow you to have your space and your internal space. So we'll work on that too. Let's see. Is there anything else you want to focus on? Any other wishes?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this on the walk over, some of the different areas to focus on in life of like career or money or physical health. And one thing that I haven't I haven't vocalized this or said it out loud, but I guess it's been swirling around in my head, is the fact of like, sometimes I can be so controlling of, I don't know if it's a character flaw or just a characteristic of myself, but in the past I've used it like in really negative ways, but I try to control all these areas of my life. And I think with New York, so much is uncontrollable. And even with like transportation is a good example. Like that's super uncontrollable here where I live, you get in your car and it's basically the same no matter what. And the thing here that I think that will be good for me. I think I can be someone who's like very indecisive. I can be someone who's, trying to control and like live in this very controlled way, especially with like food and body and exercise. And I think all of that is kind of complicated here. And I think that is really healthy for me, actually, even though it scares me of like, I felt like I had finally gotten into like a really good, healthy place with all of that where I was. But here, I'm hoping to be able to keep that same level of health with all of that here. And I think my home life is really important for that, of like having this place where I know I feel safe and I can live the way I want to live and eat the way I want to eat and like be able to go to the places I want to go. And that was one of the big reasons of like why I chose the place I chose, was to keep the cost in a place where I had the money to actually experience the city and also experience the wellness things that I like experiencing, whether that's exercise classes or, the food that I want to eat that can be expensive. So that was one of the things that I wanted to keep the overhead as low as possible so I could experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, one thing that I see when you talk about control is that maybe you want to have a bit more flexibility, right? And to be able to adapt.
Yes.
To to
be better at that.
The new situation. But also you see that in New York, you'll need to be more flexible, and things aren't going to be as convenient.
Yeah.
The quality of life is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But there's you get something for that. You get a lot more culture here.
Yeah.
But so flexibility, that's actually related to the wood element, actually. So like one way that we could cultivate more flexibility, which is something I know you already want, is to have some plants. So plants, the green house plants, can create more love, more flexibility, more life energy. But really, it teaches a lot of flexibility in a really literal way. Like you have to take care of the plants, and you can't force something on a plant, right? You have to be really flexible and adapt to what they need. But just the presence of plants creates more flexibility and more growth. So maybe we'll do that.
Cool.
Strategically add some plants to your space.
Yes, and I love plants, so
Okay.
that's exciting.
And then, so there's flexibility that you need, but you also want to take care of yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So that's self-nourishment. So you want to take care of yourself by being more flexible. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Earth is related to self-nourishment or self-care. So.
Cool.
But you're pretty good at that, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, I guess the biggest other thing is just, this isn't related to a specific area, but just I am so spatially oriented. Like I'm just someone who really, it's important for me that the space feels like mine. It's so, I don't know, I guess that's a question I have for you. Like, is that, I don't think everyone is like that. Like, are people more inclined to be susceptible to being like affected by the spaces that they're in, and other people just like don't really notice it? Like, I guess I'm just curious about, I'm like interviewing you now.
I think most people that I work with are really affected by their spaces, and that's probably why they come to me.
Right.
I'm sure there's some people that are like, oh, I don't have to have a nice home. I can just like stay at a hotel and not have a place and be a nomad. But I think for the most part, the people that I encounter, the home is really, really important. Because one, maybe they didn't have a stable home growing up, or it's just like having a place that you can call your own, a place that you can have control of it. Like your pen is where you left it.
Right.
And a place where you feel safe, a place that has your energy, a space that you created for yourself, and that you can feel comfortable. Like, for instance, we were at your apartment earlier, and it was really uncomfortable because we thought it was going to be ready for you, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So even just like not being ready for you, there's construction going on. Everything was like out of place. Yeah. There was stuff in the hallway, like.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. And I think for all, for you, me, and Nick, it was really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So it really affected us. And then we were like standing in the hallway. We didn't want to we didn't know, like, we didn't have anywhere to put our stuff down. We couldn't sit down.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. So I totally think that your environment really affects you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's even more important for you because you're not just sleeping here, you're going to be working here too.
Right.
So that's the challenge. So we're looking at this room, which is a good size for New York, and it has good light, and that's really important. And then we're going to look at how to create like your sleep space and a workspace and be able to create a little bit of separation, but also make it a space that you'll feel really comfortable and it has good flow and we'll be able to support you and has good feng shui.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I guess we can just dive into it.
Okay.
So we're going to post the floor plan, I'm going to drop a better version of this that we can put up on the podcast website on yours and mine. But so the first thing I noticed was that before I got there, so I biked up to the apartment building, and I noticed that there was a church next door, a couple doors away. And what did Nick say it was? What kind of church was it?
Croatian? It's like a Croatian Christian church.
Okay.
Ooh, Mike's getting real close there.
And so in Feng Shui, actually, if you have a church or even like a playground or a cemetery nearby, it's actually a very yin space. So yin and yang. Yang is like life affirming, like yang is like the sun. Yang is very bright. Yang is a lot of powerful energy, like noon. Mm-hmm. Whereas yin is like without life. So it's like the moon. It's like midnight. It's dark, it's cold, it's receding. So the reason why it's a yin space is that it's not because there's anything bad about it being a church or anything negative. It's just that it's not occupied all the time.
Right.
Not like a home. Mm-hmm. And it's occupied at different times, not the same time. So like at night, it's an empty space. Mm-hmm. So it attracts different energies. So what we'll do is when you move into the space, we'll do a blessing on your room to kind of, one, to clear any energy from the previous occupant and to create like a clean slate so it's a positive space that's going to have your energy, which is really important. And then also we're going to do something called sealing the doors. So we'll seal like your windows and doors. So any kind of that yin energy will not be able to come into your room. And
Amazing.
also any other like negative energies can't enter your room. So we'll do that separately. And then the second thing I noticed is when we walked in, well, the neighborhood is good. It's very vibrant. That's positive. There's trees. So there's good life energy in that sense. And then the building is well kept. Like the hallways were clean, so that's good. And then the apartment's clean. The only thing is, like, as soon as we walked into your bedroom, the door opens the wrong way, and we couldn't even open it all the way. We could only open it like 50 degrees?
Yeah.
Or 60 degrees because it
hit the floor.
Right. So Nick examined it, and it looked like, I think it's kind of falling off the hinges a little bit, and it's really heavy. And so we gave Nick some homework. He's going to try to fix the door.
Yeah, I have to peel the bottom of the door so it doesn't scrape the floor anymore, right? Isn't that what we said? Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's blocking my...
So the door to your bedroom especially. So the bedroom is really important. One, in this case, it's your room in someone else's apartment. You're in a share situation. But it really represents how the energy comes to you personally, how your opportunities come to you, how energy, how you'll meet people, like all this, how the good energy is going to come to you, all comes through that door. And the fact that you can't open the door all the way.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah. So, you literally have to come into the door. And think about it, every day you're going to go home, you're like,
I know.
You're like, I can't open the door all the way, I can't get my stuff through.
Yes.
Like, it's always scraping the
Makes
floor.
a weird sound, yeah.
So, over time, it's like, you'll get used to it, but it's just like another block every day that you're encountering.
Yeah.
And it's the first thing that you encounter before you enter your space. So it really, it starts to wear you down.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we fix that door.
Okay.
And
Can you hire someone to do that?
Yeah,
We're gonna figure it
you
out.
can hire someone to do it.
I think I got
You really can?
I think so.
Oh, you're the best.
I don't know. I don't have any tools.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Unclear.
Okay, so that's really important. And I know it opens the wrong way. It should really open into your space, but I think it'll be okay.
My last drawer was like that too.
Okay. Well, because the thing is, when it's not as easy for the energy to come in, but we can't easily, it's not easy to rehang the door.
My other one wasn't. Never mind.
So just know that, that it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but I think we have to, you're going to work really hard to attract energy to you in general, but I think we really got to work on that door. So we got to fix the door so it can open all the way. And no matter what you do, don't start piling stuff on the back of the door so you can't open it. A lot of times I go into people's homes and they have so much stuff in the back of their door that they can't go into it. So every day you're just like, oh, I have to go in sideways to my door. The door is hard to open. There's a lot of layers of subconscious blocks that get
blocked.
Yeah, they get blocked for you by just your front door, and this is your front door. So, so I think that's really important. And I was so caught up with the door hitting the floor that I didn't notice if it creaked or anything. But if it creaks, you should definitely oil it, because it's another thing. Like a squeaky door, after time, that crying noise affects you day after day after day, and it starts wearing you down, and it affects your happiness and your comfort level.
And someone was always hearing me leave and come in, and I could feel like that's annoying to someone else, and then that I could just feel me taking that on.
Although there is something that, let me know if you think this is good or not. Well, actually, I was going to say maybe you put a chime on your door, but I don't know if you need it.
Because it's squeaking?
Well, no, not because it's squeaking. So you would know if someone was opening your door.
Right.
So it allows you to feel more safe.
That makes sense.
But is it going to bother you but then every time you open the door, your roommate will hear you?
That's okay.
Okay.
She's on the opposite end. She's like way on the opposite end of the apartment. So.
Yeah. So that would be okay.
Okay. So that's something we do too, because the door is opening not into the room, but out of the room. So I think that's a good way to do it. So you can get like a bell or something. Okay. And
We'll look for
another
that.
big issue that came up with this room is that when we came in, your roommate was telling us how there's actually a window that's been blocked up in the closet that they were bricking.
Yeah.
Okay, so windows represent the eyes of the inhabitants and also the mouth of, like, the voice of the children in the
Okay.
home. So there's no children in the home, but it's something to think about because it can mean that there's like an inner voice that's been cut off.
Okay.
Or it could mean that you're not seeing clearly. So, for instance, like, you always want to keep your windows clean so you can see things around you clearly, that your eyes are open to the world. So the fact that there's a window that was blocked up means, and it's in the closet, so it's something that's hidden. So what we could do is when we go there, we can set up some mirrors to kind of on the inside of that closet and we can energetically open it back up again.
Cool.
But like one of my teachers actually has a story where I can't remember exactly, but something like she found out like all these windows were blocked up in the home, and it turned out like it was like a home where like children were being like abused, and that's what what it represents is like the voice of children being cut off. So, and it could mean like you're some like being in your inner child, yeah. And also that what you're seeing, you're not seeing things clearly in the world, or people can't clearly see you.
Ooh.
So I think we should definitely work on that.
Can I mention something about the closet that I think is relevant?
Yes.
I will have to be sharing part of that with the roommate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So half of that closet, not half, like part of it will be her winter coats.
Okay. So that'll be okay. We can work on that. But we still have to, address the window.
Okay.
Okay. And, okay, so another thing I noticed, and I think by the time the podcast comes up, we'll have like some kind of good solution for this. Or we'll figure it out right now. So you can't really have your bed in command in the generic command position. So the command position, I don't know if Nick knows, is basically...
I think I've told you about this a little bit, like where the mafia guy wants to sit. Angie talked about this in my podcast.
Let's just go over it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, please, for everyone.
Okay,
But
so
also,
for
I was
everyone.
just excited because it's like my favorite thing you've taught me.
So where the commanding position governs where you want to locate yourself in relationship to the door of a room. So, for instance, your bed, your desk, your stove are one of the most important things to position in this way in the commanding position. Your desk represents your career. Your stove represents your wealth and how you nourish yourself in the world, and your bed represents you because you spend a lot of passive time sleeping. So you want to place your bed such that when you're laying in bed, you can see the door, but you're not in line with the door. So you don't want to set it up so if we set up Katie's bed where it makes the most sense right now, which is with the headboard on the doors,
The door side of
the left side, because I'm going to position it this way.
Yeah.
The left side of the floor plan with the headboard over here, you're going to be right in line with the door. So actually that could lead to that energy coming in could lead to headaches, any kind of illness where the chi or the energy comes in. And it also energetically what it represents is that you're not able to see what's coming to you, whether it's opportunities or surprises, and you can be easily surprised. You're in a kind of dangerous position. And so the whole mafia boss thing is like, where would the mafia boss sit in a restaurant? And a lot of men are like this. I don't know if you're like this, but they don't want to sit at a restaurant with the back facing the door.
I'm like this when I'm working from a coffee shop, when we're finding a place to sit in the... I always get the corner in the back ever since you taught me this. And I learned about it in a college class. This was like the thing that we it's so important for me for some reason. Like no matter where I am, but especially in my room, but even like where I go out to dinner, I always want that seat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
But you can't always both be in that seat.
Right.
No, someone's got to have their back to like the rest of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay for me if it's like you, because I know that like as long as one of us has it, it's fine.
Right. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, that means you're letting Nick protect you.
Yeah.
So, because like for instance, it's better for a teacher to be in the command position of a classroom and the students to not be in command because you don't want the students to control the class. You want the teacher to control the class. So actually, someone wrote an
Should tell your
article
sister.
recently. Like someone sent me an article or quoted me in an article recently, but they took some liberties and they were like, "Oh, like is it okay if we write that in the living room we should make sure that everyone can be sitting in command and not facing the door?" And I said, "Well, but it doesn't. I would never say that because not everyone can be in command." Right. There's got to be a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy in everything in nature. Like, not everyone can be... That would be weird if everyone was sitting and everyone facing the door.
Yeah.
So I said, some people are not going to be
And
in
they'll be
command.
protected by the other people.
Exactly. So it's okay to not always be in command. But, for instance, if you want your bed to be in command, or if you're doing, like, maybe you're at an important job interview... You would want to decide, do you want the interviewer to be in command, or do you want them to feel like they're in control? Like, there's a lot of things. Like, my sister, for instance, is a psychiatrist, and she actually said for psychiatrists, you never want to have the patient between you and the door, because in case something happens, you want to be able to run out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's the opposite. But then maybe the patient feels like they're in control.
Yeah.
Which is probably good for them and for
yeah.
the session.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then some patients probably want to be close to the door so they can escape. So I don't know. But anyway, in any case, so the bed easily fits on this side where you're not in command. So we could possibly do that, and we're probably going to take this off the podcast and really get into this later. But if you did want to put your bed against this wall, we would have to set up a mirror. So you could, like a mirror probably here or something, so it reflects the door. No, it would probably be here in this corner by the window. So you could see, when you're laying in bed, you could see the door. So that's a way to work on the situation without putting your bed in command, because you have a radiator over here. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that's important for you being in command. And then because you work from home, we also want your desk in command. So ideally, we don't want to have your back facing the door. So again, that means that you're not going to be able to see opportunities come to you. You can be surprised. And a lot of opportunities can pass you by.
I don't want that.
No. So we'll find a way. So if we have to put your bed against, or your desk against the wall, we could set up a mirror so you could see behind you.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So we'll work on that, and then let's see. So we'll probably work on that separately, but because it's harder to explain that on the podcast, but we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
And then
we'll have photos when it's all done for people to see.
Okay. And then the fame and recognition. So if we lay the Feng Shui map on your bedroom, we're going to divide this into a 3x3 grid. This is the fame area of a bedroom.
This is in your book.
Yeah. So I think this is really important, because this is one of the most important things she wanted to work on: being inspired, being out more in the world, and that's going to help your career. It's going to help your personal life and just help you stretch yourself. Mm-hmm. And also maybe focus more on your podcast. So I'm wondering,
Plants.
we'll have to do something.
There?
Plants would be really good, actually. If we put,
There's that book where she had that bookshelf
Yeah.
that I could go there with plants on it, maybe.
that's a good idea, because what plants do is they feed fire, right? So a plant is like wood,
Right.
and wood feeds the fire. So that's a really great idea.
Okay.
So
And
maybe
that's where it was, actually.
Yeah. So we could either do 3, 5, or 9 plants.
Okay.
And you can get those at
9.
IKEA.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9's a lot, but you can
I'm
get 9
fine
little
with
ones.
9. I had like 9 almost in my old room.
I think I now have 5 because you
Yeah,
had
I gave
5,
them to you. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we should start with 5, and then I could
Okay.
always upgrade to 9.
Okay. I think 5 would be great. And what we could do is you can just pick 5 plants that you like. And then, because I see that you actually need a lot of the 5 elements, we'll just maybe get a different, you could either, you know what could be fun? Like you can get either different color pots for each of the 5 element colors. The 5 element colors are white for metal, yellow for earth, black for water, blue or green for wood, and red for fire. So you could either get...
It's like a lot of color. I think it's too much color for me.
Okay, so what you can do is get all white pots, and
like all
then
white.
either put like a ribbon of each
Okay.
color on it, or get like... Do you have nail polish in those colors or paints?
Okay.
You could just like
Do a
put like
dot?
do a dot or
Okay.
do like little like
Even
a little
a
design.
Sharpie.
Yeah, but
Okay.
make it pretty
Okay.
so you like it.
Okay.
So
Can I ask a question? What's the significance of 3, 5, and 9?
Yes.
What's that all about?
So
what happens if you do 4 plants?
So
Good question.
so 3.
I was like, okay, Angie
Yeah,
says
gotta
5.
have 5.
Gotta have 5.
So 3 represents new beginnings. So 3 is an auspicious number, and 3 represents new beginnings. It's like for instance, you have mother, son, child, or mother, father, child, and so that's like a new beginning. It's like a family, because like 1 is just like a dot. 2 is like you go between the 2 dots. It's just going back and forth. It's like 2-dimensional. And 3 is like where movement starts to happen. So 3 is new beginnings. 5 represents the 5 elements, which is a balance. And then 9 is a really auspicious number in Feng Shui where it represents transitions. It's like the last whole number, right? There's 9 spaces, and it's a number of transition, and it's auspicious. So
Cool.
yeah.
So 9 would be the best, but 5 is like, okay.
Right, because it's a small space.
Yeah. It might be overwhelmed. It might be a jungle in there. With
You don't want the
9
plants to take over.
Yeah, we'll start with 5, and I can also work up to 9.
Yeah.
You get like 4 additional tiny air plants.
Yeah. True.
Well, they should all kind of have something in common. So you could do the 5 air plants. Just do something 4 air plants. We need to just tie them all together
Okay.
in some way, like either putting
So
a
they should all
red
be
ribbon.
The same kind of plant? No.
Well, they don't have to be the same kind of plant, but I would tie them together with like either putting a red ribbon on each of them, or having the same pot on for each of them, or like doing the colors, and we'll figure out what works best for you.
Okay. Cool.
So I think that's really great. And then I wonder is there anything that you have that really, or do you have like a altar, or do you do any of that?
Okay, so I have furniture-wise, I have a trunk that was not really furniture, but I have a trunk that I like keep things in. It used to be my mom's. That's like the only big item of thing I have. And I'll have to figure out where to put that in the room.
And what does that represent, the trunk?
It's where I put like all my like important things, basically, like my passport and my checkbook and anything like that. I put in there, and I also like on the back of it, I used to have my vision board. I think it is still there, and so sometimes when it's open, like that's there, just like important things I'll put there. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of like an important thing.
Okay. So we'll try to, maybe we can fit that there. And if not, I think this would be a great place like for a vision board or anything too.
Okay,
for things that are related to like being out in the world
Photos
more.
okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
Like maybe
I have some
people you want to
Polaroids.
meet, people you want
Okay.
to connect with, like you want to be in the New York Times, whatever, put it all there.
Okay, sweet.
Okay?
I'll make a collage or something.
Okay. And then the plants will also help with the flexibility
Okay.
that you want.
I'm so glad we're recording this.
Yeah, I know. Normally people would take notes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then let's see.
One other
Yeah.
thing that is relevant, and I know you're not going to like already.
Okay, what?
Since I don't have that much storage space, I have those drawers for under the bed. And I know under the bed stuff isn't great.
You look so
Is there a way to cleanse? Can I just sage that? I just don't know what else to
Okay,
do.
so what do you what are you gonna store under your bed?
Well, I don't know. I just know, like, probably some clothes because I'm not going to have a full closet. And right now I'm okay, but I'm going to have to put like my summer things under there when it's winter and my winter things under there when it's summer. And maybe just like a few other items that I don't need on like a daily basis, but I can like extra bags or whatever where I can't store them somewhere else.
Well, okay. So, all right, just to let the listeners know, ideally it's not good to have anything under your bed. One, because you want to have like the chi flow all around you when you're sleeping. It's more healthy. So even like platform beds that are all the way to the floor are not good feng shui. Also, did that bed that she had, she didn't have a headboard, right?
No.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So, and you're also taking a used bed, so we'll have to talk about that too.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things.
But I can help you.
Okay.
So,
thank goodness.
okay, so under the bed. So if you have to have things, and I understand people are low on space, so you have to have stuff. It's okay if you keep things like summer clothes. Ideally, you want to keep like soft things like blankets, pillows, linens, towels, things like that. Nothing that's no guns, no ex-boyfriend things, like nothing like emotionally charged or negative, because when you're sleeping, everything underneath you affects you. It's like you're in this passive yin state.
Yeah.
And so you're absorbing everything. And to sleep over stuff like that every night, it just like affects you. And so it can create subconscious blocks and unconscious blocks in your life. So, and you're holding it really, really close to you. Like think about how many hours you sleep in bed. And all that energy is affecting you. And you're in this passive state where you're absorbing that energy even more so. So if you have to, I would say clothes are okay. I wouldn't put shoes because shoes are kind of a little active.
Okay.
Like shoes are about walking and moving. And so soft clothes. And then...
so summer clothes, totally fine.
if you have to, yes.
Okay. And
If you have no
Not
choice.
the best, though.
what about coats in the winter? Like for
Yeah,
the summer?
I think if you have to, you can.
Okay. I
But-
think I do.
okay.
I'm
You
low
lost
on
half your
clothes.
closet. So,
Yeah.
So try not to keep shoes under there or anything like books, because it also depends. Like maybe are you a heavy sleeper or
Very heavy sleeper.
Okay, so that's good too. So people who are really sensitive to sleep can't sleep well, like the shoes are not a good idea because it's a lot of activity.
Okay.
But maybe it'll be okay for you. So try it out. But I wouldn't put anything like paperwork or
keep
things
that
like
in the trunk.
Yeah, keep that somewhere else.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. I'm a very heavy sleeper. Fall asleep in 10 seconds flat, stay asleep. Yeah.
Mid-conversation sometimes.
Okay. That's how my
Mid-movie.
husband is too.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as the TV goes on in bed, he's like
Yep.
out. Or anytime he's like horizontal, he's out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have a headboard. Are you gonna maybe buy a headboard? Can you buy one?
Should I buy a headboard?
Yeah, so you should
Okay.
because it represents stability and stability in your relationship, and it connects both sides of the bed. So it's really important.
All right.
Wait, what's connected on the other side of the bed?
Well, it connects both sides of the bed when you
Like
connect
if
the
you're
head.
on one side of the bed and I'm on the
Yeah.
other side of the bed.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like your side and her side of the bed. It creates a connection.
Two headboards
No.
across from each other.
No, it creates stability in your relationship
We want stability in our
do want that.
relationship.
and
True.
connection. Yeah, and
We need a headboard.
Yeah, and it keeps you together.
Oh, we guess we need a headboard.
But get a headboard.
But
Maybe I
no
should get a headboard, too.
headboard that like is like metal bars because that's like being in jail.
Jail. Okay, we don't want that.
You want something sturdy and it should be attached to the bed because sometimes
Okay.
people put up like something up against the wall and it's not really connected to the bed. You really want it to connect the bed.
How do we connect? This is a question for offline. We'll figure that
Well,
out.
you'd have to get like a new.
Bed?
Well, I think the
No,
bed frame
bed
looks
frame.
like one of those bed frames that comes with the mattress, so you can usually screw it on to
Okay.
the.
We'll
Or
figure it
maybe
out.
you just buy a bed frame.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We got this.
We got it.
Okay. And then what was the other thing?
Used
Oh,
bed.
used bed. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll clear the bed when I go there.
Sage.
No, I'm gonna do a feng shui thing. So I'll do
We get the orange.
a thing. No, not even the orange.
okay.
Something else.
Okay.
So
well,
it's
maybe
like-
we can record that so people can hear natural sound.
It's called a 9-star clearing. So I do a pattern. I'll do a pattern with this mudra on the
Sweet.
thing and clear the energy, and you do a path based on the bagua.
Cool.
And we'll do that. We'll just do it on every furniture piece. So clear the energy. Unless, actually, I mean, she left. Well, you still want to clear the energy of the bed, but the person that left is actually has really good chi. Like, she's getting married, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when someone gets married, they actually have unlimited amounts of positive chi, because it's especially on their wedding day. There's actually a feng shui
Take some
cure.
of that chi.
Yeah.
I'll take some of your chi.
Yeah, there's a feng shui cure, like, for people who want to get married, to, like, go to a wedding and you
Catch the bouquet.
kind of you catch their energy. So, like, you give them, in a ceremonial way, you give them, like, a certain, like, 9 objects, certain objects to touch, and then it gets imbued with that energy of that day, that happy, positive, like, energy, because it's, like, boundless how much positive energy is with you on your wedding day.
Cool.
And so I've been told that some people that really want to get married will, like, just, you can do this, you can go to City Hall and just have, like, people as soon as they get married, like, touch all this things.
Funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so it has good energy, and we'll still clear the energy, but there'll still obviously be good energy there. Although she was there for 6 years, so
Yeah, so ups and downs.
yeah. Okay, and then what else? So we'll just touch on one other thing, and then we'll sign off. Let's see. So you wanted to focus on your podcast, have more flexibility. We talked about
Just
the wood.
focus in general, and that's something that in my other space, I was feeling this whole Master of None situation. I remember that's why you told me to put the mirror
Yeah,
above
did
my
that
head.
help? You're like, no.
Well, I feel less like a Master of None now, or I guess I'm just like, this is how I am, and I'm gonna just embrace it.
Yeah, because that's the first thing that came to mind, is to have you put the 3-inch round mirror above your desk when you're sitting there to focus yourself. I think also you were in command of your space before. You were in the right position.
Bed and desk.
Yeah. Did we create... I'm thinking here, actually, though, we might want to create a separation. I was thinking maybe you buy, like, one of those freestanding freestanding shelves to kind of separate your bed from the rest of the space, actually. I don't know if we have enough room. We'll have to lay it out.
Okay.
Because I think that might help, too. Because it's not like... some people actually, like, when they have, like, a studio space and they have their desk next to their bed, they have a really hard time focusing because they're always, like...
I could be
getting
sleeping.
sleepy or whatever, or not want to
Yeah.
focus on it. So having, like, a visual separation can help a lot too. So I think maybe we'll do that.
Okay.
But the first thing that came to mind was that mirror. So we should do it again. Maybe we need to, well, you know what I'll teach you, which I didn't really teach you before, is there's a special way to empower the object with your intention, and we'll do that, and it'll make it more effective for you.
Cool.
And then let's see what else. So your closet and the window is in your knowledge and your career area. So I think it's really, is the window over here? Where do you?
It was there.
Okay. So the window is in knowledge. So yeah, I think it's really important that we adjust that, because there's that
knowledge.
Well, it's that closed up window too, and your inner child is being shut up there, like closed off. And then it opened up and it's been closed off again.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very traumatic.
It
for my inner
is.
child.
I know. So we don't want to silence your inner child.
Yeah.
And then your career, we don't want to have things hidden in your career. It's not that closets always represent things hidden, but I think that it can it might be a thing for you, and also especially if your roommate's going to take a portion of that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to decide. I think maybe you should keep her stuff on this side.
It's on that side.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the knowledge side and not on the career side. We don't want to block your career. We want your stuff in the career.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can spare a little knowledge.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. And then another important thing I think for you is just that I think we should definitely have something in the middle of the room, whether it's like a rug or if we put a divider or something, because people have the tendency to put all their furniture around the perimeter, and then the space inside is empty, and that often leads to earth imbalances. And earth is, if you remember, it relates to like self-care. Yeah. So sometimes it's like people work so hard to take care of other people, and they don't take care of themselves, so they're really empty inside, and they're trying to fill up that space, and that's what that can represent, having like the center empty. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the podcast. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I feel like we should record like a little follow-up once it's done and share people, because I feel like this is like a to be continued, you know?
It is a to be continued.
Which is very exciting.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I was listening to this, I would be like, what happens to the room? Is she okay?
Yeah.
And how's her knowledge?
And then,
yeah.
And Nick's going to take pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Angie.
You're welcome.
This is amazing. You're welcome. Thanks, Nick.
All right, you guys, so that's the episode with Angie. I hope you enjoyed it. Next week on the podcast, I have a really cool guest, but first I want to tell you about an event I'm doing. I'm going to be doing a live podcast episode at my favorite coffee shop here in New York. It's in Brooklyn and Williamsburg. It's called The End. It's the home of the unicorn latte and the mermaid latte and the amethyst latte and the CBD latte. That's my favorite. And it's so adorable, and I love it, and it's really fun there. And I'm actually having the founder of The End, Maddie, on the podcast, and she's also the founder of the Montauk Juice Company, and I think it's just going to be a really fun time. It's on August 24th. It starts at 6:30 p.m., so if you come at that time, you can hang out for a half an hour. They're going to be selling my book there, so I'll sign books, I'll hang out, we'll all hang out together, we'll talk, we'll hug, we'll drink lattes, and then at 7, they close, but you can stay because you're there for the live podcast episode. I'll be recording a live episode, and we'll be doing live Q&A for me and for the guest, and it's just going to be a really fun time. I'm very much looking forward to it. So if you can come on the 24th of August, I can't wait to meet you. Info will be in the show notes. It's free. There's no ticket or anything like that. It's just a fun listener meetup, and it's a time to record a podcast and have a live audience, which I think will be really fun. And if it's fun, I want to keep doing it more and more and more. All right. Next week on the podcast, I'm going to talk about the sponsors really quick first, and then I'm going to tell you. FreshBooks. We love FreshBooks. It is the way to stay on top of your accounting. It's the best online cloud accounting service out there. I love it. It's beautiful. You can personalize your page. You can add your logo. You can look super legit to your clients. If you're a freelancer, you'll love it. If you're not a freelancer, you can still use it to track your expenses and stay on top of things for tax season. So if you go to freshbooks.com/letitout, that's freshbooks.com/letitout, and enter Let It Out in the How Did You Hear About Us section, you can actually get a 30-day free unrestricted trial that lets you try it and see what you think of it completely with no strings attached for 30 days. So I'm like, you might as well do that. It supports the podcast, A, and B, it's not even going to cost you anything, and you can really check it out and see if it's right for you or not. Also want to thank our other sponsor this week, which is NuDo. NuDo is a natural skincare company that I love. Amanda also loves, the producer of this podcast. You can tell when you put these products on your skin that they actually are legit. They use natural ingredients, which we love. We're big fans of the eye cream in this family, and I think you guys will like it too. You can get 20% off your order. Use the code LETITOUT at checkout. And again, there's a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. So if you hate it, you're not going to have to pay for it. So you might as well try it. Again, thank you so much, NuDo. That's NUDU.com. And enter the code LETITOUT to get your discount for both of our sponsors this week. The links to the sponsors are in the show notes. Also in the show notes, there's a link to the listener Facebook group where you can find out more about the events I'm doing, about just whatever's going on in my life. I post it there, but usually I'm posting it on Instagram first. So if you're worried about me, you just want to see how I'm doing, you want to see that I'm alive, that's what my mom does. If she doesn't see me Insta-storing for a while, she texts me several times, probably calls me several times too. She thinks I'm dead. So if you're ever worried about me, Instagram's the place to go. I'm at Katie Dalebout. I'm also that on Twitter. If you're still listening to my ramblings right now, send me the TV. I don't know why, but it's the first thing that came to mind. I watched a lot of TV this weekend. I finished season 2 of Master of None, which was amazing. We'll talk about that later, but it was so good. Anyway, send me the TV emoji if you're still listening. I don't know why, it just came to mind. So send me that and send that to Angie. I could do something more on brand for this week, more topical, but the TV came to mind first, so that's what we're doing. Next week on the podcast, the moment you've been waiting for, Dr. Samantha Boardman is the guest. I recorded it at her office uptown in Manhattan a couple weeks ago, and it was the most lovely experience of recording a podcast of my life. It's a really long episode, so brace yourselves. She's lovely. Her publicist was lovely and beautiful. Her team I got to meet while I was there for Positive Prescription, which you'll learn more about. They were lovely. I got to drink a fancy water and kick back and get comfortable and have a great deep conversation with this amazing person and therapist, which you'll hear next week. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you then. Bye. Oh, you can always leave a review on iTunes if you really want to be nice. That'd be cool. Okay, never mind. I still stand by what I just said about the review, but I'm gonna hang up now. Love you. Bye.